DayBreak, Chapter 10, Part 2. A secretary continued to type at her typewriter despite the pony that had appeared out of thin air.
Do you have an appointment? Aye. What name do I give the editor? Princess Luna.
The secretary grimaced. She rolled her eyes and leaned on her elbow.
Really now? You expect me to—
Princess Luna stood tall, shrouded in black shadows save for her glowing blue eyes. A bitter chill touched the secretary's bones.
Go right in.
Luna nodded and pushed open the door to the office. The editor of the Canterlot Chronicle and owner of the EWE News radio station looked up from an argument with his photographer. His mustache bristled.
Your Majesty— Where did you learn about the assassination?
Luna shouted in the Royal Canterlot voice.
And why have you shared the information?
Ponies were waking up with a message in their mailboxes!
The editor yelped.
They held notes on last night! Pictures! They came to us for answers! We're just reporting on the chaos!
He leaned back in his chair as Luna leaned over his desk, her eyes frigid and hard. She peeled back her lips, revealing sharp fangs.
You say that the information was made public before you knew about it?
It was random mailboxes, maybe 100.
The editor tried to look away from her face, but he couldn't. He kept getting drawn into the piercing eyes with her slit pupils.
We said not to believe it until we can get a confirming or denying statement from you.
The photographer hid behind the editor's desk.
It sounds pretty confirming to me.
Silence, fool!
Luna shouted at the desk.
I told you that she was going to be in here.
Rarity's voice came from outside the room, accompanied by a series of hoofsteps.
Fancy Pants tells me that it's the largest information network in Equestria. Or quite nearly.
She and Applejack poked their heads in, and the guards after them. The mayor then cleared her throat.
Are you just about done here, Your Majesty? We kinda got a crisis going on. Quite nearly.
Luna's voice was no longer full volume, but she glared at the editor.
You wish for a statement?
The editor nodded, and blood rushed to his head.
Yes, Your Majesty.
It is the same as before. Celestia and Twilight are both recovering.
She bared her teeth, which no longer held as sharp a point.
Exact details of their location and status cannot and will not be revealed as long as their lives are in danger. Do I make myself clear?
The editor nodded rapidly.
That's all we want, Your Majesty.
Now, if you'll excuse me,
She said.
I must go and help quell the riots that this news has ignited.
There was a deep whump felt in the hearts as Luna vanished. The photographer peered out from under the desk.
Nothing like a visit from our sovereign, is there, sir?
Shut up.
The editor looked at Rarity and Applejack, who were staring at the faint haze left by Luna's teleport.
So while you two are here, can we get a statement about the messages?
Applejack shoved her hat onto her head and trotted out the door.
No comment.
Care pushed her way through a crowd gathered in Canterlot streets. She shoved aside a large stallion and found herself in a marketplace. A few of the store windows had been busted.
What the hey is going on here?
She nearly got run down by two stampeding mares. She danced out of the way and held her hooves up.
Which way are you going, morons?
Across the street, an earth pony mare hefted a brick, and Care ran towards her.
Hey, you! Stop that!
The mare smashed a window into tiny pieces and took the jewelry on the other side. She gave Care a glance.
End of the world, sweetheart.
Care spun her around by the shoulder.
You put that back right now.
The mare lifted the brick to bring it down on Care's head. The unicorn guard sent 3 lightning-fast punches into the mare's gut, and she toppled over. Care squared her hooves and lit her horn. It went from the same pink as her eyes to bright orange, and a ball of fire shot into the sky, where it exploded with an echoing bang. And then all eyes turned to Care. She took a deep breath in.
Just because the princesses are hurt does not give you permission to steal stuff from ponies.
The mare that she'd knocked down grabbed a necklace and ran off. Most ponies alternated between robbing and running from some imagined fear. Care set her jaw and marched onward.
Hey, Captain.
Daring Do reached out of an alley and dragged Care inside, and then she whispered in her ear.
We gotta head back to Ponyville for something. Where the heck did you come from?
Care said, eyes wide.
Why aren't you in the hospital? 'Cause things are super screwed right now. I'll tell you about it en route.
Daring Do's eyes shifted around the mayhem.
Too many ponies around here for my taste. Gotta get away just for a couple of days. Gotta get a game plan together, you know? Oh yeah, because we're so awesome at planning.
Care pulled away from Daring's grasp.
We've got other obligations now. We have to help stop the riots. The riots ain't gonna stop until the stinking princesses are better.
Daring snatched Care's foreleg.
And that ain't gonna happen for good until the assassin is put down.
Her grayscale mane hung before her eyes, and she blew it back.
I need your help, Cap.
Care hung her head. She pulled back her long green mane and wrapped it in a loose ponytail.
Twilight Sparkle was our team's only real chance of beating Hurricane head-on. I know.
Daring said.
That's why I need to see if I can't get a legend out of retirement.
Spike sat at the foot of a hefty radio. He'd listened to the same message countless times, but it still stung. Twilight Sparkle was hurt. They said not to believe it until they got a statement from Princess Luna, but Spike knew it was true. He crumpled up the message from Twilight Velvet asking him to pray for a quick recovery. Twilight Sparkle had gotten hurt, and he wasn't even there to help her. Another message lay on a nearby table. It was from Rarity, saying that she and Applejack were going to return to Ponyville, saying that he should stay far away from Candlelot just because it wasn't safe. He shouldn't go to Twilight's side. They were going to move her far, far away, and he couldn't even go with her. He slammed his fist into the crystal wall of the castle. A hairline fracture ran up to the ceiling. The doorbell chimed a light, friendly double tone, and his ears twitched. He let out a little sigh and touched the wall with a claw tip. I'm gonna have to polish that one out later. He walked through the castle, picking his way through the many corridors and hallways. He hopped down the staircase and came to the first floor, and the doorbell rang again. I'm coming, he muttered as he passed the 7 thrones in the central room. It's a big castle, sheesh. He growled as he tugged the enormous handles on the castle's front door. No pony has any patience anymore, do they? They just rah rah rah, gotta get her done. No pony just stops and smells it. The door opened, but there was no pony on the other side. Spike looked down and found a small pot seated on the welcome mat. The pot held a bouquet of blue flowers, and they were Poison Joke. Spike leapt back, one leg raised to shield him from the dangerous plants. He was about to light them up with a burst of flame when he saw the note beside them, addressed to him. He lay on his belly and stretched himself out. He snatched the edge of the letter and dragged it close. He unfolded the paper and read it with trembling claws.
Dear Spike, I'm terribly sorry to hear about Princess Twilight Sparkle. It's such a shame. This tragedy affects us all. Consider this bouquet of Poison Joke as my own personal get-well-soon gift for the princess. Don't worry, I removed their dangerous pollen so they won't do you any harm. Just try not to make soup from the petals. I hope that she's still good for that promise of ice cream. With a smile, Mary Mare, Lord Mayor of Ponyville.
His eyes ran over the paper again and again. He gritted his sharp jam-crushing teeth, and the page tore in two when his fists closed around it. Spike picked up the pot, hot bile rising in his throat. He kicked the door closed, and smoke escaped from between his clenched teeth. One breath later, the Poison Joke was a collection of charred, blackened stems. He threw the pot with all of his strength and watched it shatter against Fluttershy's throne. He ran through the castle, overturning tables and scraping his nails against the walls. A roar from deep within his heart tore its way out of him, shaking the crystal foundations. He smashed a mirror with a wave of his tail. He didn't know how long he rampaged through the halls. All he knew was that at one point he was outside the gym, looking in. A punching bag hung from the ceiling, swinging back and forth. And then he hit the bag. It went sailing across the room, and he pounced on it and tore it apart, flinging sand and fabric everywhere. He pounded his fists when there was no bag left to demolish. After a while, his strength was spent. He rested his head on the sandy floor, his eyelids low. He crawled to one corner of the room and curled up. His boiling hot tears ran down his face and sizzled against the scales. The doorbell rang a sing-song jingle, and he curled tighter. He gripped his tail, squeezing his jaw shut to keep cries from escaping. The doorbell didn't ring again. As time went on, though, Spike could hear a clip-clop sound making its way through the castle. He hid behind the wall, hoping against hope that he could keep out of sight. A head popped into the room, one with a red mane and a yellow face. Apple Bloom walked in, her legs moving at a slow, halting pace.
Spike? Are you here?
She rolled her shoulders to get her tool vest on tighter.
I came to see if you were... okay...
She looked at him, all curled up in a ball and hiding in the corner. She covered her mouth.
Oh, Spike.
I couldn't save her, Apple Bloom, Spike whispered. He wiped his tears and flicked the streaming droplets onto the floor. She's fighting for her life and I can't even be with her. Apple Bloom crossed her front legs. She chewed on her bottom lip.
Hey, it'll work out. It always does.
He turned to the wall. No, it doesn't. Apple Bloom felt her own eyes sting.
Nah, not always.
Spike extended a claw tip and scratched a furrow in the crystal floor. So, what do you do when things don't work out? Apple Bloom blinked. She shifted away from one hoof to another. She started to say something many times, but thought better of it. At long last, she just stayed silent. She held her breath. She sat next to him and wrapped her forelegs around his torso. He stiffened, but gradually relaxed. He touched her hoof as tears poured from the corners of his eyes.
I'm sorry,
Apple Bloom whispered. They sat together within that crystal castle in Ponyville, sharing an embrace of solace. At least Spike has some company to keep him relatively stable. Because that happening to anybody, that's gotta be a rough-ass time. Anyways, let's get on to our comforting donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Dospo, Madman Stan, Delta Omega, Jack Hadge, RuneScyther9852, Hunter Norman, Dash of Evergreen, Riny Dragonwolf, Ponyman, Tal Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brother and Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Skyocchia, Leslie Prickett, Jordan Peterson, Crimson Kitten A9, Lightskin, Monster Kitty, Tim Bob, Needs a Life, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.